Good morning, boys and girls. Glad to see you again today. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about triangles. And we know triangles have three sides. And we're going to classify those triangles based on the length of each side. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Share my screen. And we're going to talk about three different triangles today. Okay? The first triangle we're going to talk about is called equilateral triangle. An equilateral triangle has three equal sides. So let's look at the diagram here. In this triangle that I have pictured here, notice that there are two tick marks on each side. That tells me that each side is congruent or the same as the other side. So this side is congruent to this side and this side. This side is congruent to this side and this side. This side is congruent to this side and this side. So they're all three the same. So when I look at the word equilateral, notice that I see equal in the word. So that should help me know that all three sides are equal. So I would put a 3 right there to help me remember, because I know a triangle has three sides, but in this type of triangle, it is equilateral, meaning that all sides are equal. Okay. Our next triangle is called an isosceles triangle. And notice that only two of the sides in this particular triangle have tick marks. So this side right here is congruent to this side over here. But notice that the side at the bottom doesn't have any tick marks, so it's not congruent to the other two. So an isosceles triangle only has two equal sides. So I say one isn't. So I for isosceles, one isn't I. So that helps me to remember that only two of the sides are congruent and makes it an isosceles triangle. And finally, we have a scalene triangle and a scalene triangle. Notice there are no tick marks on any of the sides, so none of the sides are congruent. I call this one my scattered triangle, scalene. That means there are 0 sides that are congruent. So let's recap. Equilateral triangles have all three sides that are congruent. Isosceles triangles have two sides, one isn't. And then scalene has 0 sides that are congruent. Okay, now let's apply that to what we're going to be doing. So if you would turn in your books to page 103, and I'll pause and wait for you to get there. Okay, you need additional time, you know, to pause the video. So when we look at the first triangle we have here, we notice that there's a tick mark on one side, and there's a tick mark on the second side. Okay, so we know equilateral means that there are three sides. Isosceles, one isn't, means there are only two sides. And scalene means there are 0 sides that are equal. Okay, so let's see, I have a tick mark here and a tick mark here. So that tells me that this side is congruent to this side, but not this side. So I have a total of 2. So you guessed it. What is it? Isosceles. You're correct. So please circle isosceles on your paper. Okay, let's go to letter B. Now, letter B has a tick mark on one side. It has a tick mark on this side, and it has a tick mark on that side. Okay, I'll pause for a minute for you to put the numbers of sides that are congruent above each one of these. So equilateral, put how many sides that are congruent in equilateral. Isosceles, put the number here. Scalene, put the number here. So I'll give you a moment to get that done. Okay, so you should have written a 3, a 2, and a 0. 3 for equilateral, 2 for isosceles, and 0 for scalene. Now, when I look at my picture together, let's look at it together. There's a tick mark on each side. So that means that what? All what? You're right. All 3 sides are congruent. So again, you circle your answer. And you should have circled equilateral. That is correct. Okay. Let's go to this picture here. Let's go to C. Let's take a look at C. Look at this side. And then look at this side. And then look at this side. None of the sides seem to be congruent in C. So again, label your number of sides that are congruent above each word. Okay, so right here, equilateral has how many? 3. You're correct. Isosceles has how many? 2. You're correct. Scalene has how many? 0. You're correct. So when I look at this, I don't see any tick marks saying that they're congruent. So I'm going to assume that this one is a what triangle? Scalene. You're exactly right. So please circle it. Okay, so we're going to pause right there. I'm going to let you watch a quick video before you do your U-do.
Classify a triangle by sides. All right. If we have a triangle, that has all equal sides, we call that equilateral triangle. That means the measure of each side length. Notice how I represent the measure of each side length with a tick mark. We'll call it equilateral. If we have 2 equal sides, so here's 3 equal sides. Sorry, I should probably write 3 sides. If we have 2 equal sides, we call that an isosceles triangle. So that means, remember, we can show that they're equal to each other with those little check marks. So therefore, if we have 2 equal sides, we call it an isosceles. And if we have no equal sides, okay, notice how the different tick marks tell you that each of these measures are going to be different. Even though maybe you say, well, maybe these look like they're equal to each other. You cannot tell me they're equal to each other unless I tell you they're equal to each other, or unless the photo says they're equal to each other. All right, so do not assume things are the same measurement or same length just because they look like it. You have to be shown or told that they're equal measure. So if you have 3 non-equal sides, we call that a okay. So that's pretty much the notes.
Okay, let's go back to page 103. And I want you to complete D on your own. Problem D. Okay, so your U-do is problem D. Once you finish, please go to Kahoot and put your answer in. You'll notice that this is a really short lesson and that your Kahoot is going to be short as well. Hey, you guys. I will see you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.